Ladies and gentlemen, look around you. The world we were promised just a few years ago is gone. We have entered a new era. In 2026, going forward, almost 99% of the people you see on the street are already failing. Not because they aren't working hard, but because they are fighting a war with the tools of the past, you see. We are living through the great extinction of traditional labor. Machines are taking the repetitive tasks. AI is taking over data processing at a much faster speed than humans. The safe jobs our parents told us to get are disappearing right before our eyes. And if you are not careful, you will be left with nothing. But I have good news, so do not be afraid. Because while this is an extinction for many, it is a revolution for the few. Think about this. In a world full of artificial intelligence, the most valuable thing you can own is a set of raw human skills. Skills that no algorithm can ever replicate. Skills that move hearts, identify hidden fortunes, and build empires while others are paralyzed by fear. I am going to show you the core 5 skills that matter in 2026 and beyond. This is not a list of tips. This is your blueprint for survival. This is the curiosity gap that separates the people who struggle from the people who dominate this new economy. If you want to be part of the 1%, if you want to be part of those who thrive while the rest of the world is left behind, you must listen to every word I am about to say, because from this moment on, your hard work is not enough. You must become irreplaceable. Let us begin with the first skill. The skill that allowed me to see the future of the internet when everyone else saw a toy. Skill number 1, the art of strategic observation. The first skill you must master, if you don't want to be replaced by robots, is something most people have forgotten how to do. It is the art of strategic observation. You see, most people use their eyes to look at what is already popular. They look at what their neighbors are doing. They look at what is trending on social media, and they try to copy it. But in this new economy, if you are copying what is already popular, you are already a loser. AI can analyze data very quickly. AI can see patterns in the past. But AI cannot see the gaps. It cannot feel the frustration of a human being whose needs are not being met. Back in 1995, when I first saw the internet in a small office in Seattle, I didn't see a computer program. I saw a bridge. I saw a way for small Chinese businesses to talk to the rest of the world without crossing borders. At that time, people laughed. They said, "Jack, China has no internet. This will never work." They were looking at the reality of the present. I was observing the vacuum of the future. To be rich in 2026, you must stop looking for jobs and start looking for problems. Because every problem is actually a hidden gold mine in disguise. Where people complain, there is an opportunity. Where people are confused, there is a profit, ladies and gentlemen. Don't just watch the world, study it. I want you to start a simple habit today. Every single day. Identify 3 pains. 3 things that make people's lives difficult, slow, or frustrating. Don't worry about how to fix them yet. Just learn to see them. While the 90% are distracted by the noise of AI and technology, the 10% are observing the human needs that technology has not yet touched. If you can see what everyone else ignores, you will never have to worry about money again. Because the world will always pay the person who finds the missing piece of the puzzle. Observation is the mother of all innovation. Master your eyes. before you try to master the market. Skill number 2, human persuasion, the art of influence. Ladies and gentlemen, we must talk about the one thing a machine will never possess: a heart in 2026 going forward. Information is cheap. AI can write a speech, it can write an email, it can even simulate a voice, but it can never feel. And because it cannot feel, it cannot truly persuade. This brings us to the second vital skill: high-stakes human persuasion. Most people think communication is just about talking. They think if they have a good product or a good resume, that is enough. It is not in this crowded world. If you cannot influence others to believe in your vision, your talent will stay hidden forever. When I started Alibaba, I had no money. I had no powerful friends. All I had was a vision and the ability to share that vision with 18 people in my small apartment. I had to persuade them to leave their stable jobs, to work for almost nothing, and to believe in a future that didn't exist yet. That wasn't talking. That was influence. To thrive now, you must master the art of moving people. Whether you are talking to a customer, an investor, or your own team, you are not selling a thing. You are selling a feeling. You are selling trust in an economy dominated by cold algorithms. The person who can look someone in the eye and inspire them becomes a god. Here is the secret to persuasion in 2026. Stop trying to be perfect. AI is perfect. Humans are not. People don't follow perfect machines. They follow authentic leaders. I want you to practice this. Next time you speak, don't just share what you do. Share why you do it. Speak from your heart. Use your emotions. And focus on how you can help the other person win. If you can master the bridge between your heart and that of the other person, you will never be replaced by a robot. Because while AI can give the right answer, only a human can give the right inspiration. Master your voice. Master your story, and the world will open its doors for you. Skill number 3, hyper-adaptability and the art of rapid learning. Ladies and gentlemen, we must address the most painful reality of the world we are living in right now. In 2026, your degree is no longer a shield. Your past experience is no longer a guarantee. And the knowledge you worked so hard to gain 5 years ago, much of it is now obsolete. We have entered the age of the Great Reset in the past. You could learn a trade. You could go to a university. And that knowledge would feed you for 30 years. You were like a tree planted in stable soil. But today, the soil is moving. The climate of the global economy is changing every single week. If you remain a stiff, unbending tree, you will not just struggle. You will snap. This brings us to the third and perhaps most vital skill for the 2026 economy. Hyper-adaptability. Most people think learning is about adding information. They go to seminars. They buy courses. They try to cram more facts into their heads. But in 2026, learning is not about addition. It is about subtraction. It is about the ability to unlearn. The philosopher Alvin Toffler once said that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Think about that. Unlearning is the hardest thing a human being can do. It requires you to look at a method that worked for you for 10 years and say, this is now useless. I must throw it away. I remember when we started Taobao to compete with eBay in China. At that time, eBay was a giant. They were the masters of the world. They had all the money, all the technology, and all the proven strategies. They looked at us, a small team in an apartment, and they laughed. They said, "We have the global standard. Why would we change for China?" They were trapped by their own success. They were experts. And in a changing world, being an expert is a death sentence. We, on the other hand, had nothing to lose. We were not experts. We were students of the market. We observed that Chinese consumers didn't want a cold, automated auction site. They wanted to talk. They wanted to build a relationship. They wanted to haggle. So we built a chat function. We built trust. eBay refused to adapt. They insisted that their global model was the only way. They were fast at processing data, but they were slow at changing their minds. By the time they realized the world had shifted under their feet, it was over. The giant fell, not because it lacked strength, but because it lacked the humility to relearn the market. In 2026, AI is the new eBay. It is faster than you. It has more data than you. If you try to compete with a machine on knowing facts, you will lose every time. You cannot outprocess a computer, but a computer cannot pivot based on a gut feeling. A computer cannot unlearn its own programming unless a human tells it to. You must become a learning animal. A learning animal does not wait for a crisis to change. They seek change. They are constantly scanning the horizon, asking themselves, what is the new reality? I want to give you a framework for this. I call it the 1% survival shift. Every day, dedicate 1 hour to a topic that has nothing to do with your current job. If you are a coder, study psychology. If you are a salesman, study AI architecture. If you are an artist, study supply chain logistics. Why? Because in 2026, the biggest opportunities are found at the intersection of different worlds. Wealth is no longer found deep in one hole. It is found by connecting two holes that no one else realized were related. If you only know what your industry knows, you are replaceable. But if you can combine a human skill with a technical insight faster than anyone else, you become a monopoly of one. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be afraid of being a beginner. I have been a beginner my whole life. I failed my university entrance exams 3 times. I was rejected by KFC. I was rejected by the police force. I was the only one of 24 people rejected for a job, and everyone else was hired. At the time, it felt like a curse. But looking back, it was my greatest blessing because I learned how to fail. And I learned how to move on to the next thing without carrying the weight of the past. I learned how to be fluid. Water is the softest thing in the world, yet it can move mountains. Why? Because it never fights the rock. It goes around it. It finds a new path. It adapts to the shape of the vessel it is in. If you want to be rich in 2026 and beyond, stop being a rock. Stop saying, this is how I've always done it. Stop saying, I'm too old to learn this new technology. Stop saying, this is not my field. The market does not care about your field. The market only cares about value. And value today is created by those who can learn a new skill in a week, apply it in a month, and master it in a year. The safe path is gone. The only security you have left is your own ability to grow. If you are not learning today, you are dying tomorrow. The world is moving fast. Don't complain about the speed. Learn to run. Better yet, learn to fly. Master the art of the pivot. Master the art of the new start. Because the future belongs to the students, while the experts will find themselves beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. Skill number 4. Emotional Stoicism under pressure, CEO level intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, we must now talk about the most invisible battlefield in the world. It is not the market. It is not the competition. It is the 6 inches between your left ear and your right ear. In 2026 going forward, the world has become a pressure cooker. Information moves at the speed of light. Markets crash in an hour and rise in a minute. AI agents are making decisions faster than any human brain can follow. And because the world is moving so fast, most people are living in a state of permanent panic. This is where the 4th skill becomes your ultimate competitive advantage. Emotional stoicism. Now, when I say stoicism, I do not mean having no emotions. I am a very emotional person. I have cried when we succeeded, and I have cried when we failed. But there is a massive difference between having an emotion and letting that emotion drive the car. Most people in 2026 are reactors. If the news is bad, they are depressed. If the market is down, they quit. If someone insults their idea, they get angry and lose focus. They are like a leaf in the wind, blown wherever the world decides to take them. But if you want to lead, if you want to be rich in an era of chaos, you must become the rock in the middle of the river. The water may crash against you. The current may be strong. But you stay exactly where you are. I have often said that to succeed, you need 3 quotients. You need IQ to get the job. You need EQ, emotional quotient, to work with people. But most importantly, you need LQ, the love quotient. But in 2026, I want to add a 4th PQ, pressure quotient. Your value to the world is now directly tied to how much pressure you can handle without losing your mind. I remember the year 2000, the dot-com bubble had just burst. Everyone who had called me a genius 6 months earlier was now calling me a fool. We had raised money, but we were spending it too fast. We had offices in Silicon Valley, but we had no revenue. I had to make the most painful decision of my life. I had to lay off my staff in the United States. I remember sitting in that office, feeling the weight of those families on my shoulders. The pressure was so heavy, I could barely breathe. If I had let my emotions take over, I would have panicked. I would have shut everything down. I would have gone back to teaching English and told everyone, I tried, but it was too hard. But I had to practice what I call mental Tai Chi. In Tai, you don't fight the force of your opponent. If they push you, you don't push back with anger. You absorb their energy. You stay balanced, and you use their own momentum to move them. When the pressure comes for you in 2026, when your business model is disrupted by a new AI tool, or when you lose your primary source of income, your first instinct will be to fight or flight. You will want to scream or you will want to hide. No, neither. The most successful people I know have a 10-second gap between the moment something bad happens and the moment they respond. There is a 10-second space where they do nothing but breathe. In those 10 seconds, they separate the fact from the feeling. The fact is, the project failed. The feeling is, I am a failure. The Stoic knows that the fact is true, but the feeling is a lie. In 2026, logic is being outsourced to machines. Computers are better at logic than you. But computers cannot handle spirit. They cannot handle the will to survive. When a machine hits a wall, it stops. When a human with emotional stoicism hits a wall, they look for a ladder. If you can stay calm when everyone else is screaming, you will see opportunities that they are too blind to notice. When the market panics, That is when the best assets are on sale. When an industry is in chaos, that is when the new leaders are born. But you can only see these things if your eyes are not clouded by the mist of fear. I want you to understand that calm is a superpower in a world of loud voices and constant notifications. The person who can sit in a room alone and think clearly for 1 hour is a king. People ask me, Jack, how do you stay so happy when there are so many problems? I tell them, I treat problems like the weather. If it rains, I don't get angry at the clouds. I just get an umbrella. If the sun is too hot, I find some shade. The weather is not against me. It just is. Business is the same. Life is the same. The challenges of 2026 are not against you. They are just the weather of this era. If you want to build a billionaire mindset, you must stop taking the world personally. If a door closes, it's just a door. It's not a statement about your soul. If a partner betrays you, it is a lesson in observation, not a reason to stop trusting the world. Your heart must be like the ocean. On the surface, there may be storms. There may be giant waves and white foam, but if you go deep enough, a mile down, the water is perfectly still. It is silent. It is at peace. Build that deep water inside yourself. Spend time in silence. Meditate. Read the old wisdom of the Stoics and the Eastern philosophers. Learn to observe your own anger and fear as if they belong to someone else. Oh, look at that. Jack is feeling angry right now. That's interesting. Once you can observe your emotions, they no longer own you. And once they no longer own you, you are free to make the decisions that lead to wealth. Ladies and gentlemen, don't pray for a life without pressure. Pray for the strength to handle the pressure. Because the diamond is only created when the coal stays under the weight of the mountain for a very long time. Be the diamond, stay calm, and keep moving forward. Skill number 5, radical execution. The law of billionaire speed. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the final skill, and I must be honest with you, if you master the first 4 but fail at this one, you will have a very enlightened, very intelligent, and very empty bank account. The 5th skill for 2026 and beyond is radical execution. In the world of 2026, idiots have become the cheapest commodity on the planet. Why? Because today, you can ask an AI for $1 billion business idea, and it will give you 10 of them in 5 seconds. You can ask for a marketing plan, and it will write it. You can ask for a code, and it will generate it. We are drowning in plan. We are suffocating in knowledge. But the world does not reward what you know. In 2026 going forward, the world only rewards what you do. I have seen so many brilliant people with PhDs, people with incredible talent, who are still standing on the sidelines. They are waiting. They are waiting for the perfect time. They are waiting for the perfect market conditions. They are waiting for the perfect AI tool to be released so they can finally start. Let me tell you a secret about the perfect time. It is a ghost. It does not exist. If you wait for the lights to all be green before you start your car, you will never leave your driveway. When we started Alibaba in 1999, we didn't have a perfect plan. We didn't have a business strategy that was 500 pages long. I remember the first meeting in my apartment. I looked at my 18 founders and I said, I don't know exactly how we will get there, but I know we must start moving today. We were not the smartest people in the room. We were not the richest, but we were the fastest. In 2026, speed is the only currency that hasn't been devalued, because the faster you move, the faster you fail. And the faster you fail, the faster you learn. Most people view failure as a wall. They hit it and they stop. But for the 10%, the ones who will dominate this decade, failure is just a data point. It is a bug report for their life. Radical execution means you adopt the philosophy of ready, fire, aim. Most people are ready, aim, 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 and they never fire. They spend years aiming at a target that has already moved. In the 2026 economy, the target moves every single day. If you want to hit it, you have to fire the shot, see where it lands, and adjust your aim while the bullet is still in the air. I want you to think about the ugly version. If you want to start a YouTube channel, don't wait until you have a $5,000 camera and a perfect studio. Use your phone, record it in your bedroom, make it ugly. If you want to start a business, don't wait for a $100,000 investment. Sell one thing to one person today. If you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product or your project, you started too late. The difference between a dreamer and an entrepreneur is the gap between thought and action. For most people, that gap is months. For a billionaire, that gap is minutes. When a billionaire has an idea at 2 p.m., they are on the phone making it happen at 2:01 p.m. You must develop a bias for action. In 2026, AI is a massive force multiplier. But a multiplier of 0 is still 0. If your execution is 0, no amount of technology will make you rich. But if your execution is a 10, and you add AI, you become 1,000. I have a rule that I have lived by for decades. The 48-hour rule. If you have an idea and you do not take one physical action toward it within 48 hours, not a thought, not a plan, but a physical action, like a phone call, a purchase, or a meeting, the probability of you ever doing it drops to near 0. Your brain will talk you out of it. Your fear will protect you into poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is changing so fast that caution has become the most dangerous risk of all. You think you are being safe by waiting. You think you are being smart by researching for another 6 months. You are not being smart. You are being slow. And in 2026, the slow are eaten by the fat. I want you to stop being a consumer of information and start being a producer of results. Every night before you go to sleep, I want you to ask yourself, did I move the needle today? Or did I just rearrange the furniture? Rearranging the furniture is answering emails, checking stats, and planning. Moving the needle is doing the hard thing. Making the sales call, writing the code, publishing the video, facing the rejection. Radical execution is not about working 24 hours a day. It is about eliminating the hesitation. It is the hesitation that kills you, the maybe tomorrow. But let me check with my wife. The what if people laugh? Of course people will laugh. They laughed at me for years. They called me Crazy Jack. I loved it. Because while they were laughing, I was executing. While they were talking about why it wouldn't work, I was making it work. Today, no one is laughing. In 2026 and beyond, your courage to act is your only security. The algorithms are coming for the planners. The AI is coming for the thinkers. But nothing can replace the door. The person who gets mud on their shoes and blood on their hands to get the job done. So, I ask you, what is that one thing you have been aiming at for the last 6 months? Stop aiming. Fire. Take the action today, not tomorrow, not Monday, today. Because in the game of wealth, ladder is a place where nothing ever happens. The 2026 Manifesto. Ladies and gentlemen, we have covered a lot today. 1. Strategic observation. 2. High-stakes persuasion. 3. Hyper-Adaptability. 4. Emotional stoicism. 5. Radical execution. These are not just skills. They are your weapons. If you take these 5 things and you integrate them into your DNA, you will not just survive 2026. You will own it. The gap is opening. The 90% are falling into the trap of distraction and fear. The 10% are stepping into the light of opportunity. Which one are you? The fact that you are still watching this video tells me you want to be the 10%. But wanting is not enough. You must commit. I want you to do something right now to prove to yourself. I want you to go to the comments right now and write down which of these 5 skills you are going to master first. Don't just think it. Write it. Make it a public contract with yourself. And if you are truly ready to join the 10%, subscribe to this channel and hit that bell. Because we are just getting started. The future is not something that happens to you. It is something you create. Go out there, stay foolish, stay hungry, and start executing. I will see you at the top. Thank you.